Laodicea and Yemen. You know you're on the path to success when you refuse to quit, even when life presses against you with everything it's got. Anybody can keep moving when the road is smooth, when the wind is at your back, when the sun is shining and the way forward looks clear. But the real measure of success isn't found in the easy stretches. It's forged in the fire of difficulty, in the seasons when nothing seems to be working, and quitting looks like the only option left on the table. That's the moment that separates the people who simply dream from the ones who actually make it. Because the truth is, success is never a straight climb. It's not one victory after another. It's usually one challenge after another, one setback after another, one moment of doubt followed by another round of resistance. And in those moments, you're going to feel tired. You're going to feel like you don't have enough strength, enough energy, enough courage to go on. That's when your character is tested. That's when the decision is made, not by circumstances, but by you. Will you stay in the fight, or will you surrender before the breakthrough? You see, the ones who rise, the ones we look at and call successful, are not always the most talented, the most educated, or even the most gifted. More often than not, they are simply the ones who kept standing when everything around them said, "Sit down." They kept believing when doubt screamed louder than faith. They kept walking forward even when the ground beneath their feet shook. That's what makes the difference. Success doesn't crown the fastest runner. It crowns the one who refuses to stop running the race altogether. Think about it for a moment. How many people do you know who started strong? They had big dreams, great ideas, maybe even a head start. But somewhere along the way, when it got hard, when the doors didn't open right away, when they faced disappointment after disappointment, they gave up. And then you see others who started with very little, no resources, no connections, no applause, but they kept showing up day after day. And now you look at their lives and you see the fruit of perseverance. That's how you know success is coming, because you refuse to quit. There's something powerful that happens when you dig in your heels and decide, I'm not giving up here. It's not that the struggle disappears, it's that you grow stronger in the middle of it. You discover new levels of resilience, new depths of courage, new clarity of purpose. Every time you choose to endure, you are building a foundation that can't be shaken by the storms of life. And that foundation is exactly what success rests on. Without it, any victory you have will crumble under pressure. But with it, you become unstoppable. And hear me on this. Refusing to quit doesn't mean you never feel weak. It doesn't mean you never cry, never wonder, never question. It doesn't mean you won't stumble or even fall. Refusing to quit means that after the tears, after the questions, after the doubts, you still rise again. You still put one foot in front of the other. You still whisper to yourself, I may be knocked down, but I'm not staying down. That's the language of people who are destined for success. What you do when nobody's clapping for you, when nobody sees the work, when nobody encourages you, that's what determines where your life will end up. If you keep pressing forward in those lonely seasons, if you stay faithful in those quiet battles, you are already proving that success is in your future. Because the truth is, the victory doesn't come to those who had it easy. It comes to those who kept going when it was hard. So if you find yourself in that place right now, tired, worn down, tempted to walk away, this is how you know you're closer than you think. The very fact that quitting looks like the easier option is proof that you're standing at the threshold of growth. Don't walk away now. Don't let go of what you've been working toward. Success isn't waiting for those who run the fastest. It's waiting for those who refuse to quit. You know you're moving towards success when you stop letting setbacks define you and start letting them teach you. Every one of us has faced failure at some point, moments where things didn't go the way we hoped, where the outcome was nothing like the picture we had in our minds. And it's in those moments that most people turn back, shrink down, and start carrying failure as an identity. They look at the disappointment and conclude, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe this dream isn't meant for me. But the truth is, failure is not a label you wear, it's a lesson you learn. And the people who will be successful are the ones who understand that a setback is never the end. It's simply a step in the process. Think about how many breakthroughs in life were born out of failure. The inventions we use every day, the businesses we admire, the leaders we look up to, they all stumbled their way forward. Some of them failed more times than we can count. But instead of letting those failures bury them, they allowed them to build them. They didn't see failure as final, they saw it as feedback. They took what went wrong, studied it, learned from it, and came back wiser, sharper, stronger. And that's exactly what put them in the position to succeed. The truth is, life doesn't waste anything. Every closed door, every rejection, every detour carries with it something that can shape you if you let it. The only real waste is when you go through something hard and walk away unchanged. Success is not about living a life without mistakes. It's about using those mistakes as stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks. It's about saying, yes, I fell, but I got up with more wisdom than I had before. Yes, I failed, but now I see clearly what doesn't work, and that gives me an even greater chance to discover what does. And if we're honest, sometimes our biggest growth happens in our lowest valleys. It's not in the times of comfort that we learn the most. It's in the moments where we're pressed, stretched, and pushed beyond our limits. That's where character is formed. That's where resilience is born. That's where the roots of success are planted deep in the soil of perseverance. When you look back at your life, you'll see that the seasons that felt like the end were actually the ones that prepared you for the next chapter. But here's the difference. Some people carry their setbacks as excuses, while others carry them as education. Two people can go through the exact same failure. One walks away defeated. The other walks away determined. What makes the difference? Perspective. If you believe failure defines you, then every setback feels like proof that you're not enough. But if you believe failure refines you, then every setback feels like training ground for something greater. That mindset, that shift in perspective, is the mark of someone destined for success. Now, I won't pretend this is easy. Nobody enjoys failing. Nobody likes falling short. And the truth is, sometimes failure stings so deeply it feels like you'll never recover. But if you choose to let that sting push you, instead of paralyze you, if you decide that your story doesn't end with a mistake but moves forward because of it, you'll find that failure actually becomes your ally. It humbles you, it sharpens you, it keeps you hungry, and it equips you to handle the success when it comes. Because success without struggle rarely lasts, but success that was born out of setbacks is success that's built to endure. So when you look at your life and see moments of failure, don't hang your head in shame. Lift it up and remind yourself that every great story has chapters of struggle. Every victory has behind it a history of lessons learned the hard way. And when you can look at your setbacks and see seeds instead of scars, when you can thank your failures for the wisdom they gave you, that's how you know you're already on your way to success. You can always tell someone is headed toward success when they stay disciplined, not just when the spotlight is on them, but when no one is watching. Discipline is one of those things that doesn't make headlines. It doesn't draw applause, and it doesn't usually feel glamorous. But it is the secret ingredient behind every story of greatness, because success is never built on what you do occasionally. It's built on what you do consistently. And consistency, more often than not, happens in the quiet, unseen moments of your life. Anybody can put in the effort when the crowd is cheering. Anybody can show up when the rewards are immediate, when the encouragement is flowing, and when people are recognizing the effort. But discipline reveals itself when there's no recognition, no applause, no one patting you on the back. It shows up when you get out of bed before the sun comes up, when you choose to work on the dream instead of wasting another evening, when you keep your commitments even though nobody would know if you didn't. That's the mark of someone who's already walking in the footsteps of success. The truth is, what you do in private will always show up in public. You can't cheat discipline. If you cut corners in the hidden places, it will eventually come to light in the visible places. And the opposite is true as well. If you're faithful in the small, unseen moments, it will eventually overflow into big, undeniable results. Success has a way of following people who prove they can be trusted with the little things first. Think about it. The strongest athletes don't just perform on game day. They live in discipline day after day in practice, in the gym, in the quiet sacrifices no one sees. The most effective leaders aren't just leaders when they're standing on a stage. They lead themselves in the early mornings, in the tough choices, in the silent battles of character. Success is never the product of a single day's effort. It's the accumulation of 1,000 disciplined decisions that most people never witness. And this is where many people miss it. They want the outcome without the process. They want the fruit without the roots. They want the reward without the responsibility. But success doesn't work that way. The public reward is always connected to the private discipline. And the deeper your discipline runs, the higher your success can rise. Without it, you might shine for a moment, but you won't sustain it. With it, you create a life that can weather the storms and carry the weight of the calling on your life. Sometimes discipline feels lonely. It feels like you're the only one sacrificing, the only one pushing, the only one saying no when everyone else is saying yes. But let me remind you, discipline is never wasted. Every time you choose it, you are investing in your future self. You are creating a version of you that will be ready when the opportunity comes. And that's another thing about success. It rarely announces itself ahead of time. It usually shows up suddenly. And in that moment, you don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise to the level of your discipline. So if you want to know whether you'll be successful, look at what you're doing when no one is paying attention. Look at how you handle your time when no one is holding you accountable. Look at the choices you're making when no one will ever know about them but you. Those private decisions are shaping your future more than you realize. And if you can learn to lead yourself there, success will inevitably follow. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't belong to the most talented or the most visible or even the most celebrated. It belongs to the disciplined, the ones who master the hidden moments of life and keep choosing the path of faithfulness even when no one else is watching. You can always tell when someone is headed for success by the company they keep, the people you choose to walk with, the voices you choose to listen to, the influences you allow into your life. Those things are shaping you far more than you may realize. Nobody becomes successful in isolation. We are all being pulled in one direction or another by the relationships we surround ourselves with. And here's the truth. You cannot walk closely with people who are content to settle and expect yourself to soar. You cannot link arms with those who are always pulling back and expect yourself to keep pressing forward. Sooner or later, your circle will either elevate you or drain you. Now, this doesn't mean you should walk away from everyone who isn't exactly like you. It doesn't mean you stop caring about people who are struggling or cut off every relationship that isn't perfect. What it does mean is that you are intentional about who has influence in your life. You guard your inner circle because you understand that your future is too valuable to hand over to the wrong voices. If you want to know whether you're on the path to success, look at who's speaking into your life. Do they encourage you to grow? Do they challenge you to rise higher? Do they hold you accountable when you start drifting off course? If the answer is yes, then you're already positioning yourself for success. The power of your circle is that it magnifies either your discipline or your distraction. If you're surrounded by people who are complacent, people who make excuses, people who constantly talk about what can't be done, eventually that mindset will wear you down. But if you're surrounded by people who are striving for more, who are committed to growth, who are determined to stay faithful even when it's hard, that spirit will inspire you. Their example will sharpen you. Their encouragement will fuel you when you feel like giving up. And it's not just about having cheerleaders in your corner. Real success requires people who will tell you the truth. You don't need friends who will flatter you. You need friends who will correct you when you're drifting, who love you enough to confront you, who won't let you settle for less than what you're capable of. That kind of accountability may not always feel comfortable, but it is a gift because it keeps you on track when your emotions want to pull you off course. Think about the great stories of success you know. Rarely do they involve a lone figure who made it entirely on their own. There is almost always a mentor, a partner, a team, a community standing behind the scenes. Why? Because we are not designed to carry the weight of success by ourselves. We need others who can help us see blind spots, who can strengthen us in weakness, who can celebrate victories with us and remind us of the vision when we lose sight of it. And here's something else to consider. Sometimes success is not just about what you achieve, but who you bring along with you. The right circle doesn't just help you reach your goals, they multiply the impact of your success. When you walk with people who share your values and your vision, your success doesn't stop with you. It overflows into them, and together you create something far greater than you could have built alone. So if you're wondering how to know whether you'll be successful, take a close look at the people around you. Are they pushing you closer to your potential or pulling you away from it? Are they reminding you of who you are or tempting you to compromise who you are? Are they building your faith or feeding your fear? Because your circle is shaping your future, whether you realize it or not. And when you choose wisely, when you surround yourself with people who lift you higher, who challenge you, who won't let you quit, that's how you know you're on the road to real success. One of the clearest signs that you're going to be successful is when your life is driven not only by ambition, but by purpose. There's a difference between chasing something because it looks good, feels exciting, or promises recognition, and pursuing something because it's what you were made to do. Ambition on its own can push you for a while, but it will eventually run out of fuel. Purpose, on the other hand, will keep you steady through the ups and downs, through the seasons when nothing seems to be working, and through the times when ambition would have long burned out. Ambition is about climbing ladders, but purpose makes you stop and ask whether your ladder is leaning against the right wall. Too many people spend their lives climbing with everything they've got, only to reach the top and realize they were chasing the wrong thing. That's why purpose matters. Purpose gives meaning to the climb. It reminds you why you started in the first place and what it's all leading toward. And when you know your why, you won't be easily shaken by the how. Success built on ambition alone is fragile. It depends on constant progress, constant applause, constant recognition. And the moment those things disappear, the drive disappears with them. But when success is rooted in purpose, you can endure seasons of silence, seasons of slow progress, even seasons of loss, because you know you're not just chasing an image. You're living out a calling. And that calling gives you strength when ambition would have left you empty. Now, don't misunderstand me. Ambition isn't bad. It can be a powerful tool. It gives you energy. It stirs up dreams. It makes you set goals and chase after them. But ambition without purpose is like running on a treadmill. You're moving fast, but you're not going anywhere. Purpose takes that energy and gives it direction. Purpose turns your work into something meaningful, your effort into something lasting, your struggles into something worthwhile. When you're aligned with your purpose, you don't get distracted as easily. Opportunities will come your way that might look good, that might even offer you success in the world's eyes, but because you know your purpose, you can say no to the wrong things, so you can say yes to the right things. That kind of clarity is powerful. It keeps you from wasting years climbing a mountain you were never meant to climb. It keeps you focused on the assignment that was uniquely given to you. And here's something important. Purpose is never just about you. Real purpose always flows outward. It always impacts more than just your own success. If your vision ends with you, it's too small. Success that lasts is tied to something bigger than yourself, something that outlives you, something that blesses others along the way. And when you live with that kind of purpose, even the small, hidden choices take on weight and meaning because you know they're connected to something far greater. Living with purpose doesn't mean the road will be easy. In fact, sometimes it will be harder because purpose often calls you to take the road less traveled, to endure seasons of sacrifice, to stay the course when others have walked away. But that's exactly why it's so powerful. Purpose anchors you when the storms hit. It steadies you when the applause stops. It reminds you that your value isn't measured by how fast you rise, but by how faithfully you walk in what you were created to do. So if you want to know whether you'll be successful, ask yourself this: am I just driven by ambition, or am I living in alignment with purpose? Because ambition may get you to the top, but only purpose will keep you there. And when your steps are guided not just by what looks good in the moment, but by what you know is right in the long run, that's how you know you're already walking in real success. You can always tell when someone is stepping into real success by the way they live to give more than they take. The world will often tell you that success is measured by what you accumulate, how much money you've made, how many titles you've earned, how much recognition you've received. But that's not true success. Real success isn't about what you've stored up for yourself. It's about what you've poured out into others. It's not about how much you've gained, but about how much of a difference your life has made. There is something powerful that happens when your vision stretches beyond yourself. Ambition alone says, I want to win. But purpose-driven success says, I want my life to matter, and I want others to win because of it. And when you live with that kind of mindset, something shifts. Suddenly, your decisions aren't just about your own comfort, but about how they can bring value, blessing, and strength to the people around you. That shift in perspective is one of the clearest indicators that you're on the path to success that lasts. Because here's the truth. What you keep will eventually fade, but what you give will echo long after you're gone. Money, possessions, positions, all of those things can vanish. But the encouragement you give, the wisdom you share, the kindness you extend, the lives you impact, those things ripple out into eternity. They live on in the people you've touched, and they carry your influence far beyond what you could ever accomplish on your own. And if we're honest, we've all seen the difference. There are people who seem to have everything, wealth, fame, influence, but their lives feel empty because they're holding it all for themselves. And then there are others who may not have as much by the world's standards, but their lives are rich, full, overflowing, because they've chosen to live generously. They've discovered that joy isn't in what you take, it's in what you give. That's why some of the most successful people you'll ever meet are not the ones with the biggest bank accounts, but the ones with the biggest hearts. Now, giving doesn't always mean money. It means giving your time when someone needs a listening ear. It means giving your encouragement when someone feels like giving up. It means giving your wisdom when someone is searching for direction. It means giving your presence when someone feels alone. Success is measured by how much of yourself you're willing to invest in others, not just in what you're trying to gain for yourself. But here's the beautiful thing. When you live with a giving heart, success has a way of following you. People are drawn to generosity. Doors open when you're not just thinking of yourself. Opportunities come when others know you're in it for more than just personal gain. Giving doesn't diminish your success, it multiplies it. Because the more you pour out, the more room you create for growth, for impact, for blessings you never expected. Living this way takes intentionality because it's so easy to slip into a self-centered way of thinking. The temptation is always to ask, what's in it for me? But if you want to know whether you're going to be successful, ask instead, what can I give? How can my life add value? Who can I lift up today? When you live with that mindset, you're not just on the path to success, you're already living it. And the truth is, at the end of life, people won't remember how much you earned or how many trophies you had on your shelf. They'll remember how you made them feel. They'll remember whether you were someone who only took or someone who gave freely. They'll remember whether your life made their life better. And when you can answer that with confidence, when you know your life has been a blessing to others, that's when you can truly say you've been successful. Because success isn't measured by what you hold in your hands. It's measured by what you've left in the hearts of others.